We have the audio stuff in. Let's talk about the difference between systems, process, and methods. Systems, process, methods. A lot of times, I believe this is based on experience, what I've seen out there, talking with a number of folks, you and working inside organizations. I believe we confuse these things. We think of things as a process when the fact is they're actually a method, an approach that we're taking. We think of things in the context of process, and they might actually be systems, integrated systems that are working with each other. So let's just simplify what's the difference between systems, methods, and processes. Let's talk about the easiest one first, process. Process is something that happens in a specific order in order to achieve a predetermined result. If you follow the process, it is expected that the results will be what the results will be aligned with whatever should come out at the end of the process. That's the order of operations, the way that things happen. So, a process, as an example, might be the process for driving your car out of your neighborhood. You have a process that you use to apply to drive your car out of the neighborhood. What do you do? Now, some people might say, hey, look, I don't have a process. I just go do this thing. There's a process. It's an organic process that happened, or it's a design process. But the first thing you do is you walk toward your garage door, if you have a garage door. As you walk toward your garage door, you might pick up your keys that are hanging on the key hanger before you get out the door. So the process is I walk to the door, I pick up keys, I get into the car. So I open the door of the car, put the key in the ignition, I turn the key, put the vehicle into drive, probably reverse, depending on how things work. But what you can see is there's these things happen. I can't put the vehicle into drive if I've not walked out the door. Okay? The likelihood of getting to the point where we are able to put the vehicle into drive increases as we go through each of these steps. So as we work the process, the probability of getting to the end result that we're looking for increases significantly. Now, I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say that I'm working through the process of going through the door. I go to find the keys, and oh no, the keys are not hanging in the same place that I expected them. So the keys are not there. I'm not able to execute on this part of the process. I'm not going to be able to do the rest of those things. I got to figure something out. I've got to change. So I have to go backward and I have to figure out, okay, where are the keys? What's my question? Where are my keys? I could have left the keys in the vehicle, right? I could have left them in the car. So I could look at the car, that gets me further on the process, or I might have to go back into the bedroom to go find where I left them last time or wherever I put them. The whole point here, the process of getting the car out into the neighborhood is this, and it's repeated over and over and over again. Now, one of the cool things I can do to design process is I can start from, hey, I want to drive the vehicle. I want to put the vehicle in, I want to drive the vehicle down the street. So we put this in reverse. So drive the vehicle down the street. I start moving forward. Well, what happened right before driving the vehicle? Well, right before driving the vehicle, I had to back out of the garage. Okay. What happened right before that? I had to start the vehicle. I had to turn the ignition. What happened right before that? I had to put the key in the ignition. What happened right before that? I had to get into the vehicle. What happened right before that? I had to make sure that I had the keys with me. What happened right before that? I had to make sure that I walked through that door. We design backward so that we can execute forward. Design backward, execute forward. It's a Covey thing. Begin with the end in mind. Design backward, execute forward. That's a process. Those are all individual steps. All right. Hopefully that's clear. It applies to so many different things that we work in. There's a decision-making process that our customers go through. There's a process that we use when we're going to the gym to go work out. There's a process that we use for sales um, that helps us with forecasting. Some processes are linear and will continue to move forward. And then if they stop at any point in time, they go all the way back to the beginning. Sales process for forecasting can actually go back a single stage. They can kind of loop and then start the process again and move through each of those stages. So process, specific order, a specific set of things that happen in a specific order to achieve a desired result. When I'm playing golf, one of the processes I use there is I have a pre-shot routine. That pre-shot routine includes standing behind the ball, observing my target, and figuring out, where do I want, looking based on my target, where do I want to hit the ball? Where do I want to land the ball? What am I looking at for all of the other things that might get in the way? And then I create an intermediate target so that it helps me get my alignment correct. And when I'm aligned, I want to make sure that I've got the right grip on the club. So there are all these components that happen in that process. The process includes alignment, grip, stance, and then swing. Alignment, grip, stance, swing. I have a pre-shot routine that I go through to get myself in the right mindset so that I'm not thinking about a bunch of other things. So, all right, process, things that happen in a specific order. And if, for whatever reason, something breaks the process, you may end up having to start at the beginning and work all the way through it, or you may just have to go to the previous step. And you can design your process beginning with the end in mind and working backward. All right, so that's process. Well, let's talk about systems. Well, sometimes there are multiple processes that are taking place in a given environment. So this process down here, identify, engage, establish objectives, clarify next steps, call to action, engage, establish objectives, clarify next steps, call to action, engage, establish objectives, clarify next steps, call to action. If you've been hanging around long enough, that is the sales rep approach that I'll coach people to. It's just this looping process that happens over and over and over again. And we never know how many times we have to go around the loop to get to success. But all of those things happen in the same order. Identify, engage, establish objectives, clarify next step. A looping process. The basis of that is John Boyd's OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. We're constantly moving forward. And it's not a closed loop environment. If we've got a sales process that kind of looks like chutes and ladders for forecasting, we've got a sales rep approach that looks like this: identify, engage, establish objectives, clarify next steps. And then on the other side, we've got this thing, the game of life, which is that customer decision-making process that happens where they kind of meander and work through individual gates. This would be our overarching system. This is our go-to-market system. It is part of our approach to revenue operations. Our entire system, these things kind of work together. They may connect in different places, time or places, but the system is the group of all of these processes that come together. Now, another thing that happens inside the system is this cool thing called methods. Methods are almost like our, I would say, the closest thing that method aligns to is something like culture. How we do what we do. What are our methods? Our methods might be that we begin with the end in mind. So we know where we want to go with a customer, and we kind of work backward, and then we help design to support that part of the process. Our method might be in revenue, Challenger sales. Challenger is a method. And if you remember Challenger, it is teach, we educate, we design based on what's important to we deliver things in context, take control. And I prefer to say lead. We lead, we guide others. So we have a method that we can apply that helps inform how we go about operating all of the individual processes that exist inside our system. And that method creates this alignment across the organization. I think a lot of times that reveals itself in culture and the context of how we do what we do. The other thing we can add in here to add another layer of complexity are things like tools. So we have tools that we use. I do not have another marker around me. Actually, I do. I've got a box. I've got a box marker. We might have tools that we apply. So we have systems, or how everything integrates, methods, how we do what we do, and then we have tools. And on my side, there are things like the thing that we talked about yesterday, which was the call plan. There are things like 2x2s, which help with decision-making process. There are things like the hexagon, which is like problem solving. There's game plan, goals, actions, metrics, execution. These are all the tools that we use to help us apply our methods to align directly with our processes and work inside this entire system. If you were talking about a system and what you're really talking about is a specific process, you might be confusing people. If you were talking about a process and what you're really talking about is a method, you might be confusing people. And if you're confusing people as a leader, you're doing it wrong. So here we go. We're going to continue this "You're Doing It Wrong" series. And in this context, that you're doing it wrong around systems, process, methods, and tools. I would love to hear what I missed, and I'd love to hear